simple. I don't go through it game by game. I may not get to your player. You may not hear. That's why I say it's important for the feedback, for you to give me something to talk about. If you have any questions about your team, I'm probably not going to address those because my format, I go 1 through 5, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, 1 through 5 at each position, and then I give you one sleeper and one letdown for each of those positions. So there's a good chance that the situation you're wondering about is probably not going to be covered on my show unless you specifically ask for it. In that case, I will not ignore any questions or anything you might have, anything you would like addressed here on the Fantasy Football Face Punch. Just let me know, and I'll do it. That's what I do. Eric Pedigo, Fantasy Football Face Punch. I like to say it's a half hour of fantasy football straight to the face. It's the best way to describe it. It's like getting punched in the face with fantasy football. I'm telling you. You'll feel it tomorrow. Let's do quarterbacks. Number 1 quarterback, last name Manning, first name Eli. That's right. Monday Night Football, Eli Manning and the New York Giants at Cleveland, who is just a wretched team that has no business in the NFL. Eli Manning, after a bye week. No, wait, they didn't have after a week not having Plaxico Burress. And still having a big week. The Giants had a giant week last week, and this week they get their star receiver back. So look for Eli Manning to have a big night on Monday Night Football at Cleveland. Number 2, I like Drew Brees, New Orleans quarterback. I always like Drew Brees. He should usually crack the top 5. This week, New Orleans at home against Oakland after just losing a really disappointing game against Minnesota on Monday night that they probably should have won. Look for Drew Brees to bounce back big time against Oakland and really make a statement here. This guy can do some amazing things with his arms, and he can really rack up some fantasy points. So you always want to have Brees in. Number 3, I like Donovan McNabb on the road against San Francisco. San Francisco hasn't been able to stop anyone. McNabb had kind of an off week last week. I guess that's an understatement. He had a kind of a lousy week last week. You can call it lousy. This week, expect him to bounce back strong at San Francisco. Not a team known for being able to stop anyone. So I like Donovan McNabb to have a nice week. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay quarterback at Seattle. Seattle, a lot like San Francisco, can't stop anyone. Teams are running all over them. Now, Matt Hasselbeck has a few receivers back, so they may be a little more competitive, but that doesn't do anything to their defense, which has been awful. So Aaron Rodgers, after starting off really hot, I mean, Green Bay started off hot, right? Rodgers has looked pretty decent every game, but Green Bay started off hot, and then they've since dropped a few. So I think they're going to respond big and put it to Seattle, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a nice week. At number 5, and this is a guy who, the first time in my top 5, I don't know if he'll be there again, but I think he's earned it. Jason Campbell, Washington Redskins quarterback Jason Campbell, at home against St. Louis. St. Louis may be the worst team ever. They are terrible. There's a few teams in the NFL this season that could be candidates for the worst team ever. St. Louis, I think, is one of those teams, and Jason Campbell has really, week by week, just progressing, getting better and better. And, man, against St. Louis, this seems like a week where he could really come out and put up one of those big eye-opening games that you're going to wish you had him on your team or in your lineup for. I like Jason Campbell at home against St. Louis. Let's move to running backs. And real quick before we do that, quick recap of quarterbacks. 1, Eli Manning. 2, Drew Brees. 3, Donovan McNabb. 4, Aaron Rodgers. 5, Jason Campbell. Running backs. My number 1 running back of the week is Adrian Peterson. Now, last week, Monday Night Football, 2 nights ago, Adrian Peterson, virtually non-existent. He was supposed to have a giant game against the New Orleans Saints, who haven't been able to stop anyone, but Peterson, it was like he didn't show up. I don't know what happened, but he really had a bad week, like he wasn't even on the field. This week, Minnesota hosts Detroit. I'm a big believer in bounce-back weeks. All right, when a guy that's a superstar stud that is supposed to shred a defense gets held way short of expectations, I expect a guy like that to bounce back the week after and really have a big week. Adrian Peterson, I truly believe, is going to have a monster week at home against Detroit after such a disappointing showing against New Orleans last week. Big game against Detroit. Number 2, Reggie Bush versus Oakland. All right, Reggie Bush, New Orleans is at home versus Oakland. We talked about this with Drew Brees, and here's the deal. This is kind of exclusively to point per reception leagues. All right, in leagues that award you the 6 points if your guy returns a punt for a touchdown. Listen, Reggie Bush, to me, Reggie Bush may be the most dangerous kick returner in the game. And listen, this guy, we're just starting to see, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what this guy can do. Ignore his second season where everyone thought he was going to be some sort of big flop bust. Listen, this guy is electric. He is one of the most amazing athletes in the league, maybe to ever step onto the field, and he is going to be something special, I promise. And in point per reception leagues, he's golden. I mean, he's what you want. And in my point per reception league, I think someone tried to make. Actually, I know I have Frank Gore in one of my leagues. I turned down a trade for LaDainian Tomlinson. Somebody tried to give me LaDainian Tomlinson. I turned it down. I'd rather have. Oh, wait. Man, I got confused. I think it's been a long day. I don't have Reggie Bush, but I know for a fact that someone in one of my leagues turned down a trade for LT for Reggie Bush. I have Frank Gore and also turned down a trade. Reggie Bush, though, catches a lot of passes, an amazing player, and like I said, point per reception leagues, golden. Absolutely golden. I like him to shred Oakland this week. Number 3, a guy who's come on really strong as of late, who was one of the top rushers in the league while he was healthy last year, has really come back strong this year. If you don't know now, it's Ronnie Brown, Miami running back. This week they're at Houston. Listen, I know he scored 5 touchdowns against New England a few weeks ago, and people like, oh, now Ronnie Brown's back. Listen, the week before, he punched one in too. All right, and he had a decent number of yards and only 11 or 12 carries, but he still got a touchdown, and he's really racking up big yardage, and he's scoring a lot. He's scoring a lot of touchdowns. He has 6 rushing touchdowns on the season, which is tied for first in the league. Ronnie Brown is a guy who's returning back to form, and thankfully for me, I have him. So Ronnie Brown at Houston, big game. I still feel like an idiot because I got totally confused with Reggie Bush and Frank Gore a few minutes ago. Sorry about that. Been a long day. All right. Number 4, and this is a guy who I had on my list last week, and he didn't disappoint, and like I said, he's the real deal. He'll do it again this week. Matt Forte, Chicago Bears running back at number 4. This week they're at Atlanta, who looks better than anyone thought they would be this year, but still, I don't think well, for one, I don't think they're going to be good enough to stop the Bears. I know, weird. And 2, I sure don't think they'll be able to stop Matt Forte. This kid's incredible. And it's not even, he's another running back that is catching passes. We're starting to see more and more of these running backs that are able to just catch passes out of the backfield and do big things with them. And Matt Forte is definitely a young up-and-comer and a guy who is, I think, an every week start already. Number 5, and I have an asterisk